A gloomy morning shrouds Beijing, where massive dark clouds signal the total impending doom arriving very soon. The vast Tiananmen Square begins shaking violently like a giant carpet being shaken by an invisible hand. Ancient paving bricks crack open and shoot into the air, creating a terrifying rain of dust debris. The unique geometric structure of the CCTV Tower suddenly emits ear-piercing sounds of twisting metal under stress. The massive pillar of the tower sinks into a deep pit, tilting the entire heavy architectural structure. The television icon crashes onto the street, creating a concrete dust explosion that obscures the entire sky. Deep underground, the world's most modern subway system is facing a terrifying tragedy of unprecedented catastrophic scale. Black water erupts through tunnel cracks, shattering the protective glass of the station with extreme hydraulic pressure. The flood sweeps away a high-speed train, crashing it violently against the reinforced concrete walls of the tunnel. From above, the city center reveals a massive dark hole spinning madly like a portal to hell. It looks like a hellish manhole cover just opened with a deadly diameter exceeding 2 full kilometers. Tall skyscrapers are sucked into the center of the whirlpool at a dizzying speed, defying all physics. The solid ground now liquefies into sludge, swallowing every construction structure standing on the fragile surface. Thousands of cars on the boulevard are swept away like worthless plastic toys in a bathtub drain. The Bird's Nest Stadium begins to twist as the foundation underneath is completely eroded by underground water. The air is thick with the smell of mud and fear covering the fleeing citizens in panic. This is no longer a city but a collective grave for modern civilization buried under the mud. Bright LED billboards short-circuit, explode, and sink slowly into the black water swirling with debris and mud. Beijing is being swallowed by the Mother Earth herself, leaving no way out for anyone staying behind. This catastrophic event will change the world map forever and bury history permanently under the deep water. The Chaoyang district is submerged in a white sheet of rain lasting for 7 days and nights continuously. The daytime sky turns ink black due to the dense dark clouds heavy with massive amounts of water. Record rainfall has exceeded all measurement limits ever recorded in the meteorological history of the vast Chinese nation. The modern drainage system of the city is completely paralyzed by the overwhelming force of the water volume. Black sewage water begins to surge back onto the streets, turning intersections into dirty rivers and lakes. On Chang'an Avenue, small spiderweb cracks begin to spread widely across the surface of the wet asphalt road. From the cracks bubbling, black liquid mud oozes out, signaling the terrifying phenomenon of massive soil liquefaction. Strong methane gas smells rise from the ground, making the air become toxic and suffocating for everyone nearby. The foundations of high-rise buildings are silently turning into a layer of soft mud bearing no load. The asphalt road surface becomes soft, imprinting the tire tracks of heavy traffic vehicles moving slowly through rain. At Beihai Park, the usually quiet lake surface suddenly bubbles violently with white gas foam rising from below. Thousands of dead fish float belly up on the water, creating a scene of extreme mourning and death. A giant flock of black crows fills the sky, screaming miserably and migrating urgently towards the safe west. The birds sense the vibrations from deep underground that humans are not yet able to perceive or understand. Trees in the park begin to tilt unusually, even though there is no strong wind blowing through them. Deep underground geological sensors at the Research Institute simultaneously flash red alerts warning of the impending major collapse. Groundwater levels rise suddenly, creating terrible pressure on the porous limestone layers located beneath the city foundation. Giant underground caverns are being eroded rapidly, leaving only a fragile thin shell remaining on the surface above. Geologists look at the data screens with pale faces struck by the horror of the incoming catastrophe data. They realize the entire city center is floating on a giant water pocket about to burst wide open. In parking basements, water begins seeping through concrete walls at an alarming speed, creating puddles on the floor. Load-bearing pillars show small cracks emitting cracking sounds clearly audible in the darkness of the damp underground level. Lights in buildings flicker constantly because underground cable systems are being stretched beyond their limits by shifting earth. The glass facades of skyscrapers vibrate intensely, following the rhythm of the shifting ground, moving deep down below. The brick sidewalks peel off, rising and falling as if breathing heavily under the immense underground pressure building. Despite warnings, crowds still rush through the rain, believing this is just normal flooding and not a disaster. Buses and cars inch forward slowly amidst the black water rising higher with every passing minute of time. A man waiting for the red light suddenly feels the road surface beneath his feet sink a few centimeters. Human complacency in the face of nature has pushed them into a situation with absolutely no way out. The fateful moment has arrived as the final fragile shell holding the city begins to crumble and break. A low, muffled explosion echoes from the ground, sounding like a giant beast waking up from deep sleep. The intersection at the third ring road collapses instantly, creating a massive void, swallowing everything on the surface. Buses and cars stuck in traffic fall freely into the deep darkness, screaming silently in the chaotic noise. A 500-meter-long stretch of road vanishes in a split second, leaving only a gaping abyss. Concrete dust rises up like a mushroom cloud, blocking the view of the terrified drivers behind the collapse. Floodwaters from nearby rivers and underground sources rush into the hole, combining with gravity to form a vortex. The massive whirlpool rotates at a terrifying speed, creating a centrifugal force that pulls everything into its center. The center of the disaster expands rapidly, swallowing high-rise apartment buildings surrounding the area like hungry monsters. Residential towers do not fall immediately, but tilt slowly as their foundations are sliced away by the water. Giant buildings crash into each other like massive dominoes, creating a chain reaction of destruction and falling debris. Millions of glass windows shatter simultaneously, sending a deadly shower of sharp shards raining down on the water. The sound of twisting metal and crushing concrete creates a symphony of death, deafening everyone in the city. The National Stadium, known as the Bird's Nest, begins to warp as the earth swallows its southern side. Half of the massive stadium is sucked down into the underground, dragging thousands of tons of steel along. Dust and water shoot up hundreds of meters high, covering the entire northern sky of the city. The diameter of the whirlpool has now expanded to 3 kilometers, destroying everything within its deadly circular reach. The center of Beijing transforms into a giant water funnel, crushing every object pulled into its spinning center. The iconic CCTV headquarters begins to shake violently as the ground beneath its unique structure turns to liquid. Massive steel frames twist and buckle, emitting sparks as the laws of physics tear the building apart mercilessly. The massive structure slams into the street, crushing smaller buildings and sending a shockwave of debris outward instantly. Highway overpasses snap in half, dropping cars into the swirling water like crumbs falling from a broken table. The city power grid begins to collapse as underground substations explode in a chain reaction of electrical failure. Beijing sinks into darkness, leaving only the flashy sparks from severed power lines to light the scene. Panicked crowds abandon their vehicles, trampling over each other to run towards higher ground away from the water. Panic spreads faster than the floodwaters, erasing all social order and turning the streets into a survival zone. There is no law anymore, only survival instinct rising strongly amidst the desolate ruins of the dying city. Rescue efforts by helicopters become hopeless due to the extremely strong air currents caused by the spinning vortex. Tiny humans are completely helpless before the unstoppable rage of the earth consuming their homes and their lives. Black water from underground continues to spray high-carrying mud and animal carcasses into the toxic air. A glittering glass office building slowly slides into the pit like a sinking ship going down into the ocean. LED billboards explode, sending out electric sparks before sinking into the darkness of the muddy, swirling water. Trees lining the streets are uprooted and swept into the swirling water like tiny matchsticks in a drain. A fire truck with flashing alarm lights is mercilessly swept away by the powerful current of the flood. The smell of gasoline and gas rises strongly, mixing with the stench of the foul-smelling mud. Temporary wave barriers erected by citizens are broken in a split second by the overwhelming force of water. An ancient stone lion statue in front of a temple gate is toppled and washed away by the water. The city alarm sirens ring continuously, but now sound like a mournful cry for the dying metropolis. Yellow and blue public bicycles float aimlessly, creating a chaotic patch of color on the surface of the flood. The swirling water creates a continuous roaring sound, drowning out all human screams and cries for help completely. The ancient tiled roofs of the old quarter are peeled off layer by layer like fish scales. A double-decker bus tips over sideways, blocking the flow to form a temporary dam of debris and metal. The increasing water pressure causes the bus to crumple and shatter into pieces within a few seconds. The sky is slashed by purple lightning, illuminating the hellish landscape of the destroyed city on Earth. The space shakes with continuous aftershocks, causing whatever remains standing to collapse into the muddy water below. A stray dog stands on a car roof barking hopelessly in the middle of the vast ocean of water. Fragments of shop signs float by, reminding everyone of a normal life that is now lost forever. The entire central area is now just a black hole, swallowing all light and hope from the city. Nature has proven its absolute power over human arrogance, leaving only ruins and silence in its wake. The disaster spreads underground, turning the extensive subway system into deadly conduits for the rushing Blackwater. Immense water pressure turns tunnels into gun barrels, shooting subway cars forward like massive metal bullets. At stations far from the epicenter, black water suddenly erupts, destroying all barriers and flooding the platforms. A speeding train slams into a wall of water, crumbling and telescoping carriages into a twisted metal mess. The electrical system is cut off abruptly, plunging the entire city into thick, cold, and terrifying darkness. The only remaining light comes from the eerie blue electric sparks of exploding substations across the city. On surviving overpasses, thousands of stuck cars create a massive scrapyard of metal under the heavy rain. Panicked citizens abandon their belongings, climbing over car roofs to find an escape route in total desperation. Rescue helicopters wobble violently because of the abnormal vortex air currents rising from the massive sinkhole below. One helicopter loses control and crashes into a skyscraper, creating a fireball that lights up the dark sky. Lucky survivors huddle together on high rooftops, shivering while looking down at the rushing Blackwater below. Telecommunication networks are completely paralyzed, turning Beijing into an isolated island, cut off from the outside world. The water level in the pit rises rapidly, beginning to overflow into low-lying residential areas near the center. The lobbies of luxury hotels turn into mud swimming pools filled with floating trash and debris from outside. Floodwaters rush into the Forbidden City, staining red walls black and washing away precious historical artifacts into mud. Military vehicles try to enter, but are blocked by severed roads and massive piles of debris everywhere. Night falls, increasing the terror as the sound of rushing water becomes the most haunting noise around. Single searchlight beams sweep through the rain, looking for life hopelessly amidst the vast piles of ruins. Field hospitals are overwhelmed and lose power, while ventilator sounds stop in a moment of total helplessness. The rain seems to have no intention of stopping, pouring more pain onto the dying city below. Humans once proud of conquering nature are now tiny and trembling before the destructive power of the earth. The roaring sound of collapse is gradually replaced by the cold and cruel sound of trickling water. The Blackwater surface is now calmer, hiding thousands of lives and dreams beneath the deep, muddy depth. The tops of the highest skyscrapers poke out of the water by a few meters like concrete islands. At the edge of the sinkhole, survivors stand watching in shock and extreme pain at their lost city. They do not cry or scream because the pain has exceeded the capacity of human emotional endurance limits. Broken roads lead straight into the water where a child's bicycle lies lonely and abandoned on the edge. A large part of the Forbidden City has vanished forever, while the rest is buried deep in mud. On a remaining golden glazed roof tile, a tiny green plant sprout is still struggling to grow upwards. This geological scar will remain there forever as a brutal reminder of the absolute power of Mother Nature.